The following is a presentation of the Matt Talk Podcast Network.
You are now tuned into the PA Power Podcast, College Edition, featuring Rob Waltko and Joe Youngblood. PA Power Wrestling. Pennsylvania is wrestling.
Hey fans, welcome to the Open Room with Rob and Joe. Here we are talking about another week of wrestling. We're going to, recap some of the matches that happened, most notably that Penn State-Michigan match, and we're going to, preview some of the things that are coming up this week, most notably that Penn State-Ohio State match that everyone's talking about. Before we get to any of that stuff, Rob, what else we got in store, and why don't you tell everyone who our guest is this week?
So we're going to have Pitt 184-pounder, nationally ranked Nino Bonaccorsi on a little bit later to talk about his freshman year, transition to college, and his pretty wide-open style. But first things first, jumping into some box scores. Lock Haven beat Edinburgh 30-10. Obviously, Edinburgh's a little bit down right now, but Lock Haven is certainly the cream of the crop in the PSAC. UPenn had a couple wins this weekend. They beat Brown 19-16 and Harvard 35-6. My alma mater, Bucknell Bison, beat Franklin and Marshall 35-6. And Drexel, they ended up losing to American. Shout out Teague Moore 21-16 on some of our local action. Now, like Joe said, jumping into Penn State, great dual meet with Michigan. Michigan seems to always be in the hunt versus them. And there were some good matches in this dual meet for sure. First things first, I want to shout out Scotty Stossel at 133. He's a fifth-year senior for Penn State, another North Allegheny grad, but he got the chance to wrestle Stevan Micic and held his own. He scored 5 points, went out there and wrestled hard, and it was cool to see him out there. But the first match I want to talk about is 141. Nick Lee, currently ranked number 6, went out and kind of beat the crap out of Kenan Storr 10-4. I said last week that Storr was ranked higher, but I favored Lee. I didn't know it was going to be this bad. Lee, he was in complete control. Storr had an opportunity to score off an ankle pick early in the match. Lee scrambled out of it and ended up scoring and pretty much dominated. Did you expect this one to be closer, Joe? What were your thoughts on that bout?
100%. I expected it to be closer. And still, I still look at the box score and watch the match. And I'm still kind of surprised. And, I don't want to come off like saying the same thing, but I have said before about these guys from Penn State, and at this time of the year they start to ramp things up, and this really, really big win, confidence booster for Nick Lee moving forward, as they have the big match this weekend, and looming Big Tens and NCAA. So it's huge that he goes out and makes that statement for himself and for the team. A match where some people, some prognosticators had it like 5 matches apiece, and that was a match where they were kind of almost giving it to Michigan without even being wrestled. So maybe he read that and used it as some Baltimore material, or he just went out and did his thing and imposed his will on Storr. I don't know, but yeah, definitely surprised. Long story short, or short story long for that matter, definitely super surprised that he was able to put it on Storr like that.
Yeah, Lee, I love watching him wrestle. He's not as flashy, I should say, as the other guys, but he wrestles with an attitude. He has a lot of passion. To me, he wrestles like that old school Iowa style, where he's just always in your face, always attacking. Maybe not the fanciest moves, but he's just very aggressive and very tough. I'm a big fan of the guy. Some of the other duels. Number 1, Jason Nolf, 9-2 over Alec Pantaleo. 9-2, but that guy gives him a little bit of trouble on the feet. Chenzo won in overtime over Logan Mesa. Both guys ended up giving up hands to the face rule, or hand to the face points. And then Mark Hall, 3-2 over Amin. They always seem to be close. Is it just me, or does Penn State always seem to win these close ones? Like, Michigan's close, they're knocking on the door, but the Penn State guys always seem to come out ahead.
No, it's not just you. It's what they do. Nolf for his match and Pantaleo, 9-2. For me, that Pantaleo kept it respectable and kept Nolf, because up to that point, Nolf had been really on a tear, Rob. I mean, how many weeks in a row do we talk about it where he came out, made a statement win, and just started to roll and, just knocking off top 10 guys and in convincing fashion. 9-2 is pretty convincing, but I feel, Pantaleo was able to at least slow the onslaught down a little bit. Talking about Chenzo, another guy, people had him on upset alert. And all he does is keep going out and win matches. I figured it would be a close match, and not surprised at that it went to sudden victory. I didn't necessarily put him on upset alert going into that match, but I figured he'd have a good scrap with Massa. And Hall and Amin, it means he's going to be in a conversation come March that potentially that this might be This might be a semifinal matchup, depending how things pan out from here on out. This could be a match where you see the rematch in the semis, maybe the final. Who knows? So I don't think the book is closed on that Hall Amin rematch again. But moving on to probably maybe surprise of the night, one of the surprises of the night. Rob, give us your thoughts on the heavyweight match in that Michigan duel.
Yeah, Cassar really big brothered Paris there, 19-8. That's a 3 versus 6 matchup. So on paper, that's the quarterfinals of the national tournament. Cassar just completely ran him over. That first double leg was impressive. I don't know. You don't see heavyweights with that wide of a margin, unless it's Penn State, I guess. But I thought it would be competitive. 5-3, 5-4. Did you expect Paris to get beat up that bad?
No, if any, not because he's as good as Cassar. I felt because he's bigger that he'd be able to slow down Cassar. I didn't think he'd win. I felt he would give a good match. But Cassar's athleticism and his ability to get to legs and pass hands and pass shot deep, like he gives those bigger guys that maybe are athletic, which is not as fast, they don't even have a chance to defend, and he's getting to their legs. He's a problem. Again, he's exciting to watch at heavyweight because he's a mismatch nightmare for those bigger guys. And again, you see a lot of times, a lot of heavyweights now are in the mold of Cassar. White's not too much bigger than him and the same skill set. Gable Stevenson, those guys are all similar skill sets and athleticism. So it makes that weight class. And you even look back a year and 2 years, and you have Kyle Snyder and Nick Wizadowski from NC State. Those are guys from that mold that are just very athletic, very mobile heavyweights, but big guys to boot. And I was reading, I don't know if it was Foley's mailbag or I don't know what I was reading, but if Cassar is able to get that 6 year of eligibility, and they brought up a good point. Imagine like him getting another year to adapt to this weight. How fun he will be to watch at that point.
I think that's the plan. They have the younger Neville's gray shirting, obviously with the intention of having him redshirt next year and then get Cassar that 6th year. Penn State, they're probably going to be the team to beat again next year. Jumping into some ACC action, you had Hayden Hidley, big winner, 15-6 over Keatling from Virginia. Big match here, though, was Cam Coy. He entered the rankings at number 19. He ended up getting an overtime win over Bullard from NC State. That's a big win. I mean, Coy's been knocking on the door a little bit this year. It's nice for him to kind of break through and kind of get, in the ranking conversation and, kind of really help himself in that ACC tournament. UNC, winners at Pitt, 19-16. I'll be honest, this is a bit of a disappointing loss for Pitt. On paper, I thought they would win this one. I don't want to say going away, but I felt pretty comfortable with it. More disappointing news for them, Jake Wenzel. It sounds like he's hurt and out for the rest of the year. So hopefully he has a quick recovery and is able to get back on track soon. But Mickey Philippi ends up getting a win 8-4 over Gary Wayne Harding. Harding's tough. He was in the Southern Scuffle Finals a couple years ago. He was in and out of that Oklahoma State lineup, but he's a solid guy, and that's a good win for Mickey coming back after a loss. LJ Bentley got a major over Hernandez. That's a big win. I think we both thought Bentley would lose that one. But the huge match for me is Nino. He ended up beating Ness 7-5. Ness, obviously an All-American last year. I think that's the 5th or 6th All-American that Nino's wrestled, and he's taken down all of them except Zavatsky Did you expect him to win this one? I know I called him last week. I call him every week that I think he's going to win, but do you think this is a confidence booster for him and he's able to take that next step? Because he's got a stiff test with Nick Renan this week.
I would say I did expect him to win this match based upon the body of work up to this point. And you said it, he's been knocking at the door and he's been, I don't know, maybe waiting to be invited in, figuratively speaking. And going on against Ness, he's went out and took it, more or less like he kind of kicked the door down and went after it. So, and we'll see this weekend with the match with Renan, what if he can maintain it. It's one thing to win one, and that now that he's won that one, maybe got the monkey off his back, maybe a snowball, starts, snowball effect starts going. And, they said, we'll talk to him in a little bit and, maybe get a little bit of more insight about that and his mindset with that.
Yeah, 100%. That ACC it's tough. I mean, the big four at 184 is Bonaccorsi, Renan, Zavatsky, and Ness. So you're looking at 3 All-Americans right there. That's not too shabby. Finishing up for Pitt, Kellen Stout, 7 of his last 9. He's been a winner. He's quietly just winning matches. I think he's looking like he's going to get to the NCAA tournament this year. Another disappointment for Pitt was Demetrius Thomas lost to Corey Daniel from UNC. Thomas slipped from 10 to 13. Honestly, I was looking at him as maybe a little bit underrated to 10, but then he goes out and has a loss like this. I don't know. Bad matches for his first year in like the D1 lineup, but expected him to win this one. Lock Haven ended up getting beat pretty handily by Cornell, 32-9. The match there was Dean ended up beating Hazel 7-5. Dean, of course, reigning All-American, ranked number 11. Hazel number 15. But jumping into Iowa, first thing that jumped off the page at me was Max Murin sitting out. I don't know if this was a coach's decision, if he's hurt, or if maybe they're giving Vince Turk a shake after Murin lost a few matches. What do you think's going on here, Joe?
I don't think it's cause for concern, and you hit the panic button just yet as far as them shutting Murin down. Could be, again, we could sit here and speculate till we're blue in the face. I just think maybe just giving him some rest, maybe clearing his head. I think he's their guy. I just feel that maybe he just needs to clear his head. He had a few close matches, close losses. Especially that Mikey Carr match. How many times have been there? Hard. Yeah, I think that might be part of it. And again, it's just speculation on my part. But you're that close to beating the guy, and it doesn't happen, and you maybe make a mistake there at the end and let up and think you have it, and it's taken away from you. And it can really mess with your psyche. So, I wouldn't be surprised they just give him some time to clear his head so that he's refocused for when it matters most.
Yeah, I agree, Joe. If I had to guess, he'd be in the lineup here sooner than later. Some other matches with the PA natives. Caleb Young lost a tough overtime match to Tyler Berger. The way the rankings are, that's a 7-2. That's another quarterfinal match. I think Young showed that he's right there. He almost scored in that overtime scramble, so I think I'd still like to see a little bit more offense from him. I'm sure they're working on that, but he's obviously when he's on and maybe Berger's not 100% on, he's competitive with him. He's right there. Labriola, he's still ranked number 10, but he looked ranked number 9. He looked good this weekend. 2 major decisions, beat up on the Iowa kid 14-4, looked very good versus Rutgers as well. He could make a run. I think he's peaking at the right time, and he's looking better by the day. One of the matches I want to talk about, Spencer Lee, 18-4 over Moisey. Moisey came out like a ball of fire, scored the first takedown. Lee got back, scored some back points, got a couple takedowns of himself. Gave up a third period takedown and kind of went into shell mode, but then exploded up and got a late reversal. I don't know if he's 100%, if it's mental or what, but I think he looked a little bit better than we'd seen him in the past. Like versus Iowa State versus Mackle. Once he got tired, he just kind of clammed up. What were your thoughts on that match, Joe? Did you get a chance to watch it?
I did. And it's like one of those things where Lee's so good that he can just turn it on when he wants. And what I don't get is why it wasn't on the entire time. Like, why did he try to hatch that lead a little bit? Did he think he want to cruise? Again, Moisey's been more down than up this year. but he's also still you can't take it away. He's a national finalist, and he's shown on many occasions how dangerous he can be. You can't shut it off at all, really, ever. You shouldn't, but not against someone as dangerous as Moisey. So that's my thing. What is actually going on?
My theory last year. Go ahead, Joe.
I'm sorry, if I could back up about Labriola. And I'll say this about not just Labriola, but a whole Nebraska team in general. They're wrestling really well right now, and we did touch on it last week. But they're overall as a team, they're wrestling well, and they're getting a lot out of those guys. Whereas in the beginning of the year, I know I was. I think you were kind of in the same camp as me. They were just I hate using the term bad losses, but they just were not winning. I think at the high rate that they probably should have been, and it just makes for a competitive Big Ten. And it's good to see them going, especially obviously because Labriola is a PA guy.
No, I agree. They look tough. They have 25, 41, 57, 65, 74, 84, 97 heavyweight. That's 8 guys that are either All-Americans or in the hunt to be All-Americans. So that's a really solid team. Talking about Lee though, my theory last year, I don't know if I was wrong or right. I just didn't think he was used to being pushed. I thought that maybe when he got up 7, 8, 9-0, guys typically rolled over, and college guys weren't doing that, and that was giving him trouble. But then against the Nationals, he gets in a bunch of tough matches and looks great. So I'm like, okay, maybe I was wrong, but maybe he's reverted to that. I don't know. But to your point, it is very odd to see how he speeds up, slows down, speeds up, slows down. But hopefully they get it figured out. DeSanto, resident bad boy, ended up getting a suspension from Coach Brands today for his antics, chirping at the bench, thumbs up in the air. They're saying all the right things. After that Soriano match, he was very apologetic. I got to get this under control. Then he does that. And, it was in retaliation to Berger blowing a kiss, but no one else had to do anything. Why does this guy have to do this every week?
Rob, I said I wasn't going to go in on DeSanto this week because on this podcast I've been giving him the business, and I'm going to stick to that. What I'm going to touch on is what you kind of alluded to. They're saying all the right things, and they give the suspension. But is the suspension enough? I've now turned my attention in this situation off of DeSanto, and it's turned to the staff and the administration at the university. It's not good for the sport. Austin DeSanto is a Pennsylvania, for all intents and purposes, is a Pennsylvania legend. Would you agree?
100%. One of the greatest high school matches ever. Whether or not time was up, it doesn't matter. The balls it took for him to cut down to face Lee 2 years in a row, incredible. I love the guy. Even when I saw him going down, I'm like, does he know he's going to get killed? And then he ends up winning. I have no questions about his determination, his wrestling ability, his mental toughness. It's just these honestly, these little kid antics that kind of bug me.
So we're in agreement on that. How many Pennsylvania kids either saw that match in person, saw it on YouTube, saw it on wherever, and thought, why not me? And I'm sure he lit a fire and motivated a lot of kids, not just in Pennsylvania, but just everywhere. And then he gets to college, and you watch what happened at Drexel. And then the drama that ensued with him leaving the program, mind you, him trashing the program that openly released him. And he gets to Iowa, and everyone, myself included, thinks, okay, no way, shape, or form is stuff like this going to fly on Iowa. You see it all the time. You see the way that the brands run the program. You hear the stories. And I was thought to myself, good, maybe this is a situation this guy needs, and he's going to blossom there. I would say he has blossomed as a wrestler. He's ranked 3rd in the country right now. He is firing on all cylinders from a wrestling standpoint. But the antics have got to stop. And at this point, it's not him. It's not. I'm not looking at him. I'm looking at the people who run that program and the people that employ them. How are they letting him continue to act this way? And it's bad for the sport. It's bad to show kids that look up to him, that tune into that Iowa match to see maybe him and Spencer Lee. They watch those first two matches if it's bang bang, and they turn it off because those are the only two guys they want to see. And they see DeSanto act that way, and they see those Iowa fans cheer for him like he is the greatest, and then they think it's okay. The example that it's setting for our sport is not good, and it's not a suspension in a match against Maryland. It's not, what does that matter? Maryland's the doormat of the Big Ten. I just don't think. I think if you want to solve this, you got to go. You got to. I don't know. You got to hit a little bit harder. I don't know. I'm not faulting DeSanto because he's been allowed to act that way. It's not on him at this point. He has not. The behaviors have not been corrected. And now I'm sitting here and I'm sounding like a teacher, and the teacher me is coming out, and it's frustrating from the fan standpoint. It's here and there. It could be harmless, but for him, it's an every match thing now. And I don't know. I'm gonna stop now, Rob. Sorry. I told you before I wasn't gonna go, but I'm not. My focus is anymore on DeSanto. Again, he's a phenomenal talent. I can't take that away from him, but the fact remains, these antics, kids look up to him, and I don't think it's a good example that's being allowed to be set.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the truth has to be, how does he act when he loses? Obviously, he took a loss to Gomez earlier, but he's on this high. We'll see how he reacts when he takes a loss, if he takes a loss, because he's wrestling really well. Skipping ahead back to.
And
you said, Joe?
And I'm not going to harp on it. You said about when he lost to Gomez. I don't recall anything when he lost to Gomez. It was a heated contested match. Exactly. It was a heated contested match, and those two hyped it themselves by, having a little back and forth before the match. And that was great. That stuff's good because they're both confident guys and they're talking it up. It was nothing malicious, and they went out and they wrestled it, and it was a great match, and you didn't hear anything about the post-match antics. Let's get back to that. All right. So, Rob, sorry. Go ahead.
But let's check out Lehigh's weekend. They ended up going to the wrestle Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. They put it on Oklahoma 28-3, and then they got beat up pretty bad by Oklahoma State 27-6. Some guys to look at. Cutler, he went out, beat McFadden, Manalona, and Joe Smith in the last week. He's up to number 5 in the rankings. He is just so gosh darn tough to score on. He won off a hands to the face penalty versus Joe Smith, but once that guy gets a lead, he is very, very difficult to beat. Ryan Palmerinka had a big upset over Demas, 5-2. Ryan Price, he jumped from 11-7 in the rankings. The big move for him was an 8-3 win over Jacoby Smith. Dakota Gear went out and pounded Chris Weiler 13-5. Weiler seems to be the guy for Oklahoma or for Lehigh now. He beat my guy Jake Woodley the night before in a tough match. And then Derek White over Wood, 6-3 or 3-2. Wood's up to number 5 in the rankings, but hasn't shown the ability to wrestle those top tier guys. I mean, I think all in all, really good weekend for 74 and 84 out of Lehigh. Both picking up 2 wins against quality guys. What are your expectations for Price and Cutler the rest of the year, Joe?
I mean, their guys are going to get on the podium, no doubt. But it's one of those things. Do I think they're lights out? No. Are they the cream of that weight class right now? No. I feel there's a little bit more that I need to see out of them. But they're both going to get on the podium, and both can push, maybe, high up on those weight class. I'm not going to sit here and make some kind of ludicrous thing and say one of them can get hot and win one of those weight classes because there's some hammers in those weight classes. But, I think they're both potentially be top 5 guys in those weight classes, if not higher. Maybe top 3, depending on how the bracket falls and where they end up in wrestlebacks. So, you look at like Cutler, when you're stingy like that in the NCAA tournament, that's what it's all about. Not giving up points. You don't have to. If you don't give up points and there's one or two things you can do exceptionally well, that's a good recipe for winning matches, especially in an NCAA tournament where a lot of times you see guys go out and wrestle tight to begin with. So if you're stingy and you can find your way to to a takedown or an escape and a riding time point, that's all you need at that point. There's no style points for winning. So go out and do it, whatever it takes to advance. So Cutler in that regard can definitely be a guy looking top 5 to top 3 because of that skill set.
No, I 100% agree. Jumping into our preview, Clarion's weekend, they're going to wrestle Cleveland State and Lock Haven. Lock Haven's going to wrestle Ryder, I think, effectively for the EWL title. Big match there is Marsteller, number 5, versus Jesse Del Vecchia, who's number 14 from Ryder. That should be a good one. That's one of the better individual matches within that conference. Bucknell will take on American and Army. Match to look at there is Joey Gold versus Corey Shy. That's a rematch from the Midlands. Gold got hot at the Midlands, ended up finding himself in the top 33 on the first rankings, but hasn't been hot since. Shy is ranked top 24, top 25, so he'll need to get that win, honestly, if he wants to qualify. Minnesota and Nebraska, you'll have the key match there, I think, for PA guys is Mikey Labriola, number 9, takes on Devin Skatska, number 12. We'll see if Labriola is able to stay hot. Missouri takes on Arizona State. Brock Mahler versus Josh Maruka, 2 qualifier fringe top 20 guys going at it. And then the big one's Flynn versus Shields. That's 13 versus number 4. But Flynn's good. He beat Mekhi Lewis earlier this year. He is no pushover. Missouri is always ready to go. Outside of PA, Zahid Valencia, Daniel Lewis should hopefully be a dandy. I favor Zahid in that match, but could be a good one. But the big deal for the weekend, we'll hop into this full throttle, is Penn State, Ohio State. I'll be honest, Joe, I got this on paper as a 5-5 split coming down to bonus points. I think Ohio State sweeps the first 4 weights, and then Miles Martin gets a win, and ultimately it'll come down to whoever gets the bonus points. The big ones, though, 141, 197. You have Joey McKenna, number 2. He looks lights out, wrestling Nick Lee, the bulldozer Nick Lee. That was a 7-6 match last year, win for McKenna. I don't know if it's that close this year. As good as Lee is, McKenna looks lights out. Who do you got in this match? It's in Columbus. Do you think that Lee can hang with McKenna still?
I do. And before going further, I want to give a shout out to my Uncle Bob. He's a guy that was a casual, and I say casual wrestling fan at best, but has just caught the bug right now. And he and I talk more about wrestling than anything else. And for someone like Rob, like you and I, that talk wrestling a lot to each other and probably everyone else, and my Uncle Bob is constantly shooting me texts, and it's phenomenal. So he's been asking me for days now, like each day, has your thoughts changed on this match? He reads everything possible. So I've been talking about this match a lot, having a lot of dialogue with my uncle. So Uncle Bob, thanks. You keep me on my toes. You gotta start listening more to the podcast. Yeah, you got to start listening to podcasts more. That's my next move, is getting him on this. Anyway, get him listening. He thinks he's more optimistic than I am. I don't know if it's going to be 5-5, but I'm reading a lot and looking into it. It could be 5-5, and if it is, Penn State's still going to win on the back of bonus points. And that seems to be a lot of the big consensus. They're going to get bonus points, and what Ohio State has to do is limit those. But that's so much easier said than done. McKenna and Lee, I don't know. You used the word mission in regards to Joey McKenna. I have to agree. But Nick Lee is going to go to Columbus and break some hearts on this weekend. That's my prediction. I'm going to say somewhere along the lines of maybe flip that score 7-6 or 6-5. I think he's gonna do it. He's wrestling confident, and I'm gonna go with the guy as the underdog right now. Nick Lee is gonna make another statement in back-to-back weeks about his stake at the 141-pound weight class.
That's bold, Joe. We'll see. I mean, I certainly don't count him out, but I think McKenna's gonna be too much. 97, you got number 1 versus number 2, Nickel and Moore. I don't know how competitive this will be. I foresee, a 7-2 type match for Nickel where he's just too athletic, long, just too good. Do you think Moore can push him at all? I mean, I think physically he's strong enough, he's athletic enough, but Nickel's just on a different level.
I was trying to think in my head how to say it without coming off, I don't know, be as nice as possible. No, Bo's gonna be Bo, and Moore's not gonna have an answer for it. Maybe at first he might bust him down, but Bo's gonna figure out he's gonna make in-match adjustments, and he's gonna find a way to score, and he's gonna distance himself from Moore. The thing with Nickel is that the second, what's gonna kill Moore will be if he tries to out wrestle Bo. The best thing he do is
versus Bo is the problem. Like, there's no position where you can feel comfortable.
Exactly. Like when you try to out wrestle him, you come out of like your game plan. Like I'm sure every coach in the country has a game plan to wrestle Bo Nickel. Like you don't want to do this, and X, Y, and Z, and it's so much easier said than done because he's going to find. You shut down X, Y, and Z, and he's going to 1, 2, and 3 to find another way to score, or he's going to create something that is just not there. And Moore needs to slow it down, and he's only going to be able to do that for so long. And I think Bo's just unrelenting drive to just try and score as many points as possible, it's going to be too much. Or Moore's going to get down. He's going to try and do something to force action or create a scoring opportunity, and Bo's going to make him pay for it. So any way you look at it, he's between a rock and a hard spot of how to wrestle this match. I don't see any way that Moore wins this match. Now, I've also said this before when doing some of these predictions and previews. This one I feel real strongly about.
No, I agree with you. I think he's going to be too much. Yeah, the big difference, like you said, for Penn State is, another ranked match is 157. You have number 1, Jason Nolf versus Hayes, who's number 8. I think anyone would bet that Nolf's going to get bonus points there. I mean, that's just the difference. That's why they're so tough to beat is your number 8 ranked guy is probably giving up 4, 5, or 6. 49, Micah Jordan, number 3 versus number 12, Brady Burgee. Jordan's had trouble with Penn State, though. He's 2-4 career versus Penn State. He has a win over Bo Pfeiffer and a win over Jimmy Gulabon, who he split with. Prediction time. I think it's 5-5. I think Ohio State gets a bonus point at 33 to put them at 16. But I think that Penn State gets a Tech at 57, and they get a major at 74, another major at heavyweight. So I think 19-16 would be my final prediction. Do you have one for this duel, Joe?
They're going to get a bonus point at 33, Ohio State now. I'm going to agree with your assessment of Penn State scoring, but I think it's going to be 19-17 because I think they're going to get a bonus point at 49. I think Micah Jordan is going to find a way to get a bonus points, and if it – there's nothing in stone that I've read that says Burgee definitely is going. If it's Verkleeren, again, you don't exactly know. How Verkleeren will handle it.
If it's Verkleeren, I'd give them the bonus point for sure. He didn't look very good versus Malik Amin last week. So
I was reading some stuff today, and I'm sure like a lot of readers do. The beat writer from the Center Valley Times. I read the articles. Read the articles. I just never read where I'm getting them from. Center Times out in Center County there said that part of the problem with Burgee not wrestling was due to weight, allegedly, and that Verkleeren got the call the day of the match in the morning that he was wrestling and had to drop some weight just to be able to compete. So that could have been part of the problem for Verkleeren on short notice, taking that match and expending energy that day to get the weight off. So that could have played into the part of Verkleeren's performance against Michigan, but you didn't want to read into that too much.
I believe it. I mean, he looked drained, which isn't normal for him.
So I think it goes 5-5, but I think it'll be somewhere around the realm of 19-17 win for the Nittany Lions, and further extending their dual meet streak.
Yeah, it should be good, though. My brother, he actually lives out in Northeast Ohio. He's going to head down there with his boss, who's a Kiski grad, so they'll get to catch some good wrestling. Ending the preview on some ACC action, you got Pitt. They are traveling down to North Carolina. They're going to wrestle Gardner Webb, Campbell, and NC State Saturday and Sunday. The big ones there, 133. If Tariq Wilson's back, he faces Mickey Philippi. I kind of doubt he'll be back. We might see Sean Foz at 133, though. He ended up wrestling 133 versus Virginia a couple weeks ago, or last week. I don't know if he weighed in there or if he bumped up, but that was an interesting wrinkle. Maybe he's going there permanently. If Wilson's hurt, that would make sense. You have Bonaccorsi versus Renan. That's number 12 versus number 2. And I mean, Bonaccorsi is just wrestling All-American after All-American. I would say this is the best guy he's wrestled all year, so I'll be interested to see how he handles that. And then Kellen Stout versus Malik McDonald. Like I said, Stout keeps winning matches. He's not maybe lighting the world on fire, but he's winning. I think Pitt's they're going to be in some trouble in this dual meet, especially with Wenzel out. They might get beat up pretty bad, but of those 3 matches, I mean, any predictions for you, Joe?
I'm looking forward to the Nino and Renan match now. Maybe I tend to look more closely at the guy, at some like Nino, because he's a guy we're going to have on the podcast in a little bit. So I take more or put more into them that particular week, because I again want to see again what our guest is doing. So I'm really excited about that. And seeing this as another measuring stick for him. He's coming off a win over an All-American. See if he can keep that rolling. So I'm, definitely that's the match that jumps off for me. Tariq Wilson, hopefully he's back and in the lineup. I think that'd be a good match for Mickey Philippi. Again, another tough one for him that helps towards the ultimate goal of preparing for the postseason, and it'd be a huge one for seeding purposes as well. I think if Fowles moves up, Philippi will win that match for sure. If it's Mickey and Tariq, flip a coin, because I think it's one of those matches. If Philippi can keep Tariq's attacks under control, it puts him in good position. But Wilson showed that he can, how well he can attack from and in different ways at that to score points. And
yes. Go ahead.
Stout and McDonald. I'm gonna get on this Stout bandwagon, and I'm gonna ride it for as long as I can.
You're done with the Pilsners. You're going with the Stouts.
I'm done with the what? I'm sorry.
You're done with the Pilsners.
Yeah. I moved on to just Stouts. Good one. So yeah, I'm moving, and I'm on that wagon, and I think he's going to beat McDonald as well. But like you said, that it's overall it's not looking good for the Panthers in the team score. However, we're wrong I'm wrong at a very high rate. So anything can happen, and that's why they wrestled them.
Yeah, they're just so deep. I mean, I guess one we forgot to talk about, but Hidley versus Romani in that dual meet. Romani's actually pushed him before, taking him to overtime. Romani is about as up and down as it gets. Hidley had some early season snafus, but I think he's back on track. I'd take Hidley in this one comfortably, 5-1, 6-2 type of match. Do you think Romani's going to be able to keep up with him? They both have pretty unique styles and have somewhat figured each other out, so I don't know if that slows them both down, but what are your thoughts on that individual matchup?
I think Hidley wins just because you can't depend upon Romani to be consistent right now. And I'm sure it's something that staff at Pittsburgh is working on, is to get Romani wrestling consistently, because if they're able to do that, he could be just his upside is tremendous. But if they're able to figure that out, that's probably something, like I said, that they're working towards. But in the meantime, I'm taking Hidley into a pretty convincing win. May not look that way on the scoreboard, but it'd be convincing on the mat. Yeah,
and the last thing I want to touch on is some more ACC action. seems like 33 and 84, just the weight classes in the ACC. You got Corbin Myers taking on Gary Wayne Harding, and another All-American versus All-American matchup, Zach Zavatsky versus Chip Ness. They've met once in the past. Zavatsky came away with a 4-3 victory, but I'm taking both PA guys in that match for sure.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer for me as well. Myers is wrestling really well, and Zavatsky's been as consistent as possible this year, with the exception of a few bumps in the road. And Chip Ness coming off the loss last week, and I think it's Zavatsky all day.
All right, Joe, what do you say we switch gears and get Nino on the phone here?
Sounds good, Rob. All right, fans, now on the line we have University of Pittsburgh wrestler Nino Bonaccorsi. Nino, thanks for coming on with us tonight. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Thanks for having me.
So, Nino, first question. Being that you're a redshirt freshman, you've had quite a bit of success so far. Any big surprises? Anything that jumped off that maybe caught you off guard, or something that you needed to fix when you started the year?
Yeah, I think one of the main things actually was just how tough the competition really gets. In high school, you can get away with maybe during the season having some matches where you're pretty dominant, but you find out pretty quickly that in college everyone has something. Everyone's willing to put up a fight and really give you something. So I think that was like a pretty big thing that I learned, and just no one really. You don't take anyone for granted, really, because everyone has something. And yeah, I think that's probably one of the biggest things jumped out at me.
Do you have to change your approach to get up for every match? Is it about being more consistent? How do you adjust to that?
Yeah. So, I mean, fortunately for me, I've always been the type to really take everyone pretty serious. My dad at a really young age, I always remember, he said, act like every match is the national championship. And, it really goes a long way with just treating everyone like they're something, and even my coach Gavin even says today, be ready for a hard fought battle, because if you get an easy one, then all right, that was great. But, if it's a hard one, you're ready for it. So it's kind of a thing where it's not really something I have to change, because I've just always been like that, just getting up and just treating every match like it's the NCAA finals.
So you talk about Coach Gavin and Pitt. You mentioned it, and during your recruiting process, was Pitt always the school you wanted to go to? Did you have your eye on their school? Any other schools? Did any other schools have their eye on you?
Yeah, so Pitt was always on my radar since I was little. I mean, I think it's pretty well known that I'm a big Pitt guy. My dad wrestled for Pitt for a little bit, and obviously my brother went to Pitt. So I think even some of the coaches that would call me kind of knew that, and I think that was part of the reason. I committed to Pitt pretty early, and I think most coaches knew that. And I really didn't look anywhere else, because I kind of knew I wanted to go to Pitt, and I knew some people knew that, and I always knew I wanted to go to Pitt.
Good. So, in staying not just in the state of Pennsylvania, but literally in your own city, what does that mean to you? Obviously, do you wear it like a badge of honor? What's that like to represent your, not just the state, but your city?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's like a dream come true, especially with nationals coming to Pittsburgh this year. And yeah, I look at it like, I kind of like a hometown boy, just trying to just do the city proud. I lived in Pittsburgh my whole life, and it feels good to represent Pitt when I walk out on the mat. And, I know my family and friends, they all come out, and it's just great having that type of crowd backing you. And yeah, it feels good. I guess I wear it like a badge of honor. I never thought of it like that. I like that.
So, Nino, tell us about when, with teammates, maybe not from the city of Pittsburgh or perhaps even recruits, are you the go-to guy, or, do you enjoy being, the maybe a tour guide in a sense?
Yeah, I am sort of the go-to guy, I think mostly because Pitt's pretty much my second home. So when I get recruits, it's easy to show them around. I know the campus well. I know the city well. So yeah, I pretty much know where everything's at, what's going on. So it's nice being able to show that to some high-level recruits and stuff like that.
So give us, off the topic of wrestling right now, I'm putting you in the spot, best slice of pizza in Pittsburgh.
Oh, best slice of pizza. I'm going to have to go with Fiore.
Okay, and this is for our listeners maybe heading out to the NCAAs that want to peruse some different things. They're hearing from a hometown guy, so there's best pizza. And is Permani's the best sandwich in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I'll give Permani's best sandwich. I love Permani's.
Okay, yeah. What's your go-to at Permani's?
Honestly, just a regular. I go in. I think some of the guys know me in there. I go there so much, but yeah, just a regular sandwich in there, the classic.
Nice. And so, just real quick, give anyone that's not doesn't know what Permani's is. Give everyone a little, your Pittsburgh take on what Permani's is. Again, like I said, a lot of our listeners might be heading out to NCAAs in a few weeks. So they need to know the lay of the land a little bit, so you can drop a little knowledge on them about Pittsburgh and Permani's.
Yeah, so Permani's just classic coleslaw and fries on a sandwich, turkey. It's just such a Yinzer sandwich. It's so good. It's funny because when they were doing Pitt was doing a thing when I was coming in my freshman year, and they told me like my favorite restaurant. And I said, they said, why I like Pitt? And I said, I like Pitt because I get to double leg someone and walk down the street and get a Permani sandwich. So
that's all you need right there. That's
all you need. That's all you need.
Good evening.
Nino, switching back to more the technical part of wrestling, or I guess your career, you're maybe the most aggressive wrestler in the country. You shoot nonstop. You have just a crazy pace. Have you always been that way? I mean, I remember watching you as a kid, especially in high school, and you were aggressive, but you seem like you've jumped that to the next level. Like, where did that come from?
Yeah, I feel like I've always been like that. Not particularly sure where it came from. I like to score a lot of points. I like to push the pace. I think when I got to Pitt, the coaches really emphasized, not just me, but all the wrestlers, their particular interest. So, for me, it was, I got a high attack rate and a high pace, so let's build off that. And I think that's really helped me. And, every day we're looking to score, or every match we're looking to score points and just be ready and just coming at the guy hard.
You mentioned, obviously, you have a high attack rate. Watching some of your matches this year, I mean, it's no secret. In a couple of them, maybe you took a shot or two too many or got yourself in trouble. Do you look at that as basically losing the battle to win the war? Because by being aggressive, you're getting better, you're figuring guys out, and maybe you make one too many mistakes, but ultimately it's going to help you?
Yeah. It's happened to me not only in college, high school. It's sort of like a live by the sword, die by the sword type of thing. But obviously that's not the plan when I do that. I think it's just kind of just a habit of just shooting, and I think doing a little better job of me and the coaches just knowing where you're at in the match and what's going on. I look at like, if I'm going to lose a match, I'd like to go out, attacking. The worst feeling is coming off a mat and knowing, dang, I could have went after that guy more, could have tried some stuff more. But, I like to go off the mat knowing I gave it my all. And,
So the team this year, Pitt has really turned heads. I think you guys are competing a lot better than anyone really expected. Testament to Gavin and the recruits, all you young guys. What does it feel like being on a team that's doing well? Because I've been on teams that aren't doing so well, and it's pretty miserable, right? Everyone's down in the dumps, heads are down. Has the culture changed there? Like, do you guys expect to win? I know you're not nearly where you want to be, but what's the feeling like being a part of a team that's on the turnaround?
Yeah, it definitely feels awesome. I was never on a real winning team. We didn't have that many guys on my high school team and my team in high school. So it's different, going out and being in matches and actually winning. So I think it's definitely a culture change, really. We're kind of about winning, and I think we're headed in the right direction. I think the coaching staff, they got a plan and focus on what's going on. And I think everyone, it's kind of building, because now we're winning, people get positive attitudes, winning more. I just think it's kind of snowballing, and I'm excited what we're going to do in these next couple of years.
So, Nino, you talked a little bit about, you mentioned high school, and we talked a little about Coach Gavin and the staff. Up to this point, aside from your college coaches right now, who are some other coaches that you've come across in your career that had a big impact on your development and helped get you where you're at today?
Yeah, well, no brainer. Sonny Abe of Pittsburgh, he's been my coach since day one, and I wouldn't be where I am today without him. He played a big part in my wrestling career in my life, really. So definitely him and my dad played a big part. And it was sort of, when I was younger, it was them two. It was like I didn't know any better. It was just my dad and Coach Sonny, and they were the guys to, show me what's going on and really help, mold my wrestling career.
And getting back into, talking about this season, in that, coming into this redshirt freshman year, has it gone to plan for you? Are you where you thought you would be at this point of the season? As far as record and how you're performing, or do you have something more to be desired of everything?
Yeah, I wasn't too sure what to expect coming into this year. I like where I'm headed. Of course, I'd always like the main goal was to obviously be a national champ. I know that's something everyone might say, but deep down, I truly believe I can do that. And I feel like I'm getting better every day. That's the emphasis, and not really looking at the wins and losses, just more of trying to go out each match and wrestle my hardest, and seeing what I'm doing wrong, and just getting ready for nationals, really. But I know I'm doing something good. I feel like I'm in these matches with these top level guys. We're lucky enough to wrestle some of these top ranked guys early in the season. I think that helps you late in the long run. But yeah, like where I'm at, and just excited for the end of the year.
So, Nino, you mentioned being a national champion. Is that your goal this year?
Yeah, for sure. It's not. I know it might sound cliche, but it's something that I truly believe I can do. And a lot of guys just freshman year, it's just something maybe getting the hang of everything, getting taking your lumps, but I truly believe I can win. I think if I wrestle my best, I could beat anyone. And yeah, that's been the goal. That's been the goal since I was a little kid, wrestling on that nice blue mat and on Saturday night. That's my goal, and I'm sticking to that, and I'm working every day to achieve that.
This year I've watched you pretty closely. You've been, like you said, you've been in the matches with multiple All-Americans. You beat one last week in Chip Ness. When did you start believing? I know the goal has been to be a national champ, but did it ever click where you're like, okay, I can actually beat these guys? Like, did you have that aha moment?
Yeah, I think a little bit of my redshirt freshman year, I wrestled some close guys, and I realized I am right there. And even this year, I'm in these matches. You don't really know what to expect when you wrestle these type of guys. So I think the more I wrestle them, the more I'm like, I come off. I'm like, damn, I am in there, And I think it's something to build off of. I think it's something to, to acknowledge. And it definitely gives me confidence knowing I'm right there with these guys. it'd be a different story if I'm going out and just getting, destroyed. It's something else. But I'm hanging in there. I'm beating them, and it feels good.
Is there anything in particular you think you need to work on that you're willing to share before March? Yeah,
I mean, I'm pretty. I take criticism. People might not believe me, but I take criticism pretty well. I think I'm pretty coachable. I think there's a lot of stuff I can learn. I'm just getting started. I'm not naive to the fact that I have a lot to learn, and there's a lot of things I can be taught. So, honestly, nothing really comes to mind. I would share if I had it, but just getting better. Just work. It's mostly little things. We come in the next day after a match, and we just see little points where I could change my game up, and just little things. Just building off of each match and just getting better and better, 1% better every day.
So Pitt, like we were saying before, and we've been saying all year, you guys are on the rise. What's your pitch? You get that top 10 overall recruit. You're hosting him. You're showing him around. What are you selling him on to come to Pitt?
Yeah. I mean, it's no brainer that we're on the rise. We're really doing something here, and I probably would say, why you're about to be a part of something huge here. I think we're on the breakthrough of being a top 10 team. I think the attitude's changing, the culture's changing. We're about to be part of something huge here, and better yet, we're right in the hotbed of wrestling, Southwestern Pennsylvania. It doesn't get much better than that. So, we're about to break through to something huge here, and it's just exciting for me, the coaches, exciting for everyone. And I think, the more we keep winning, it'll attract attention, and it's going to be huge. Plus, we're switching some script in retro color, so if you like that blue and yellow, come on in.
I have to say, Nino, I'll be honest, and I've said it several times, I'm a West Virginia alumni, but when you guys going back to the old school retro uniforms is pretty cool. So speaking of a little bit of old school, staying in the realm of wrestling and maybe open up a can of worms here, personally, can you beat your brother yet?
He might say something different. I might say something different. It all goes down in our family room in our house. I can't take Big Brother yet. Not there yet.
How any broken bones growing up between you two wrestling?
He would always we've been fighting since just when we were little. Just nothing major, nothing, no broken bones, thank God. But yeah, I definitely I attribute him to making me kind of who I am today. He made me tough growing up, and I give him credit for that.
Just thought I'd get that one in there, see what, stir the pot a little bit.
I think Nino's being nice. Nick's a police officer now, right, Nino?
Yeah, he is. Yep.
Worried he's going to slap the handcuffs on you if you say you can beat him.
I know, yeah. It's been a while since we've been to I know my senior year in high school he was getting me, but, I don't know. Maybe if he comes down to the pit room now, it might be a different story, but we'll see.
That was a challenge, Nick, if you're listening. Just I'm going to help you read between those lines.
Calling you out, Nick.
Cool.
We appreciate having you on, Nino. You want to wrap this thing up, Joe?
Yeah, Nino, we at PA Power are following you, have been following you, and will continue to follow you, and wish you nothing but the best moving forward as you're on your quest to become a national champ, whether this year or in the future. We're definitely going to be in your corner rooting for you.
I appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
No problem, anytime. So that will wrap it up for another week here in the open room with Rob and Joe. Thanks for tuning in. As always, visit PAPowerWrestling.com for all your wrestling needs. Follow us on Twitter at PAPowerWrestle. Give us a thumbs up on Facebook and check us out on Instagram. Don't forget, fans, you can subscribe to the PA Power Podcast on iTunes and listen to all 3 shows on Spotify. If you want to send any questions or suggestions for the show, email us at collegetalk@PAPowerWrestling.com. Thanks, and have a great week, everybody.